That means everything from better poll worker training, which we're going to talk about later, is so important, to better early voting options. So we're so glad you're here tonight. My name is Sailor Jones. I am as of today, the campaigns director for Democracy NC, and I'll be helping to moderate today's training with a great group of folks who are with us tonight. But first and foremost, I want to talk about who we are. If you're unfamiliar with Democracy North Carolina, we had over 400 people sign up for this training. So some of you may be new to our organization. We work in companion with key coalition partners like Southern Coalition for Social Justice to run a successful County Board of Elections, or as we often abbreviate it, CBOE monitoring program. We've done it for over a decade, friends. And in that 10 years, we've done important work to win strong early voting plans in key North Carolina counties. It's been incredibly important, including advocacy that significantly increased the number of Sunday voting options. Remember, they tried to get rid of souls to the polls in 2016. It was County Board of Election monitors like you who stopped them. And we defeated efforts to cut voting access at the local level. We have year over year. And we've done important work to make sure meetings are transparent and open to the public. That was especially important in 2020 in COVID times. And we've made sure County Board of Elections are properly funded, poll workers are adequately trained, and eligible voters are counted. So I know many of you may be seasoned County Board of Elections monitors. Welcome back to the fold. And hopefully you're here to find out the latest on what we can do together to achieve election victories at the local level in 2021. Welcome back. Others of you may be new to this work and wanting to learn more about this annual program. Well, welcome, welcome. Regardless of your experience level, there's something new here for everyone, because we're going to be drilling down to what we need in 2021. And we're grateful you're here with our experts, including this year's primary contacts for our statewide County Board of Elections monitoring program. We got a big slate for you. We're glad you're here. Today, in addition to hearing from me, which you're fortunate you don't only have to do, you'll be learning from a big team devoted to this important program, including Alyssa Ellis, our advocacy director. She works at Democracy North Carolina with me. I love her very much. She'll be leading our election administration strategy today, Alyssa Ellis. Aja Bullock, who I also love, our organizing program associate, who'll be working with key members of our organizing team, which you'll also hear from, as well as the advocacy team, to synthesize the information you're gathering from the local level and providing key points of contact for both our staff and our County Board of Elections monitors. Aja will be the air traffic controller this year for CBOE monitoring as we move through various phases of this year's work. So Aja Bullock, so important. Say hello. More on that in a moment. They're here tonight with our new research and program associate, Carol Cifuentes. Carol, if you could shake your hand, raise your hand, wave your hand too. Our regional managing organizers, or RMOs, are also here. We got Manny Diaz, Kamaria Lawrence, Edward Peters, Linda Sutton, and Marquez Thompson, your CBOE monitoring contacts in many of our priority counties. I saw people here from Robinson all the way to Wake, all the way to Buncombe. These will be some of the people who will be helping you as you're gathering information as part of our efforts. They're here tonight with my good friend Cheryl Carter Ellis, who is our organizing director. Cheryl, wave your hand too. And even Tomas Lopez, our esteemed executive director, is here for tonight's PAC program. So we're so glad to have Tomas here as well. As you can see from the many names on this slide and the prior slide, this year we're taking this program to brave new heights, right? Our team will work side by side with you to gather elections intelligence on what's happening in your county. As I said before, Aja and others will be synthesizing the monitoring reports that you provide, and we're going to show you how to better inform our work, understand patterns, and help all of our priority counties work better together, keep you updated on the latest trends that are happening. We're in a legislative session that could impact your work, and any upcoming priorities about how we're going to work together to make a difference. Tonight's training, Alyssa always wants me to tell you, is intensive. However, we're going to get everything you need to get started as a CBOE, remember that's County Board of Elections monitor, today. Alyssa's going to be a big part of that, so I'm giving her many, many shouts out tonight. We've got our water ready and we're ready to rock. But before we get started, it's worth a reminder that you will get stuff for being here. We really, really appreciate you taking time out of your Thursday night. As always, I'm sorry.
He also gave you a sneak or something that
Taylor, yeah. All right. So this is Zoom. We got our first Zoom troll tonight. It's been really wonderful. Thank you. We made it to 5 slides though. That's a new record for us. We want to tell you what you get tonight. And this is really important because we always get these questions. So first and foremost, we're going to do things a little differently tonight. Feel free to drop your questions in the Q&A box. I won't go through it again. Many of you have been in Zoom meetings all of your lives now, so you can drop your questions in the Q&A box and have them answered in real time tonight. We'll actually have 3 Q&A sessions, short ones, throughout the call in case you need to hop off at the end. We hope that makes it easier for you to get your questions answered. And in addition, following tonight's event, you'll also receive a recording of this webinar. The slides you see here, a 2021 toolkit will be coming to you, an Elections Admin 101 toolkit. You also get links, and you can see it at the bottom, to our CBOE monitoring hub, where you'll find 1, your report form, which will bring up a lot, and 2, more resources for helping you monitor on the county level. Now let's get started with the purpose of today's training, and that's to launch phase 1 of our 2021 CBOE monitoring program designed to ensure proper transparency. Transparency is going to be important. We're still sheltering, many of us can't attend public meetings, so we need for our county meetings to be transparent. We're going to work on building good leadership at the local level. BOE members may be changing on the county level, so we'll talk about that. And we need funding for municipal elections this year. Those decisions will be made soon. Those are the things we're going to be talking about today. And for that, I'm going to turn it over to Alyssa. But before we do, first, we have a question for you. And we're going to poll you. How many of you have attended County Board of Elections meetings before? We want to know, yes or no. Have you attended them before? Go ahead and answer the poll if you see it on your screen now. How many of you have attended a local CBOE meeting? Is everyone seeing the poll? Taylor, I can't see the results, but if you can, let me know if you can. Oh, wow. 58% of you have already attended a County Board of Elections meeting. Welcome back, veterans of County Board of Elections monitoring. But a surprising number, 42%, have not attended meetings. Welcome to CBOE monitoring, friends. It's incredibly exciting to have you here. That is a huge number, and we're excited to give you the nuts and bolts of how to do CBOE monitoring. Thanks for answering the question. This is really great. We can have veterans helping newbies with our County Board of Elections monitoring. So welcome to the team. So for that part of this, to break down an overview of CBOE monitoring, I'm going to hand it over to my good friend, Alyssa Ellis, our advocacy director here at Democracy North Carolina. Alyssa.
Thank you so much, Saylor. It's really, really amazing to see how closely split it is. A lot of experienced monitors on the line and some new folks. So tonight we're going to take a deeper dive into the specifics of County Board of Elections monitoring needs and processes in a moment, but we're going to understand these goals as part of a phase 1 of our monitoring effort. And when we are thinking about that, we're going to have an overview of what we accomplished in 2020, how new elections rules and developments for 2021 will make this year different, and how County Board of Elections membership will conduct business in 2021. So we're going to go over some of the past County Board of Elections monitoring accomplishments and what those have looked like. So what we accomplished collectively, and many of you on this phone call in 2020, was a huge, huge shift, unprecedented challenges. County Board of Elections monitoring priorities shifted to react to the unprecedented environment that was created by COVID-19. Suddenly, our monitors weren't just recruited to attend meetings and report back, but asked to make sure that those meetings were even happening, that they were safe, virtual, that there was opportunity for online or telephonic public comment. And monitors were asked to report on everything from how counties were responding to record absentee requests to how needs for larger in-person sites to accommodate social distancing were being discussed, debated, and met. You all not only fought for good voting options, but attended post-election canvass meetings to ensure that every vote was counted. For example, in Rowan County, where my colleague Linda Sutton leads our organizing presence, we received reports from our monitors about a shortage in single-use pens that were necessary for voter safety in early voting. We were able to follow up directly with the State Board of Elections and expedite a new shipment of pens within days. And when monitors told us about an early voting site that was going to be closing in Rockingham County, also in Linda's region, due to a lack of poll workers, Democracy North Carolina immediately sent a list of eligible county residents to the Rockingham County Board of Elections, and Rockingham was able to reopen the site before early voting ended. These are just a few of the many ways that monitors have made a tangible impact on 2020 elections, making it easier and safer to vote. And 2020 wasn't even the first time that our monitors have intervened and made positive changes in our elections. During the 2016 March primary, monitors in Mecklenburg, where Camaria works, and Forsyth County identified problems in the treatment of provisional ballots. Their keen eyes and willingness to speak up led to meetings with the County Board of Elections. And through the persistent advocacy, monitors won direct changes to Forsyth and Mecklenburg's practices and saved the ballots of 140 provisional voters. All of this work proves that together we can make a big difference for voters. As a result of years of vital monitoring work covering the vast majority of North Carolina counties and important emergency action by state and local officials, in 2020, despite the coronavirus pandemic, voter turnout in North Carolina increased in the 2020 elections compared to the 2016 election. Voter turnout was up in all 100 counties, and more than 75% of voters cast a ballot, setting a new record for our state. More Republicans voted, more Democrats voted, and more independents voted. More young people, more middle-aged people, and older people voted. We saw more white people voting, and so did more Black, Hispanic, and Asian American people. And what made that possible was the fact that North Carolina provided more early voting options than ever, including the most early voting sites in history, 471 sites, and the most hours ever, more than 77,000 hours, and more weekend options, including Sunday voting in a majority of counties. And this led to 3.6 million votes being cast. In addition to that, North Carolina was the first in the nation to send out absentee ballots, with a record of 1 million votes cast by mail, with over 1.4 million ballots requested. You can learn more about all of this turnout and amazing information when our report is released in the next couple of weeks. These accomplishments are due in large part to the voting access secured by advocacy by people like you and the elections officials you'll be building important relationships with as a part of this program. Now we're going to look a little bit at some of the new election rules and the changes for 2021 that are going to shape our County Board of Elections monitoring work. It took a lot of election rule changes, many of which came from a 2020 piece of legislation called House Bill 1169, to help create better voting access amid the pandemic. Some of these rule changes are set to expire in 2021. For example, poll worker precinct recruitment flexibility is set to expire. Rigid statutory requirements that require poll workers to reside within the precinct they serve are not beneficial, particularly in rural and under-resourced counties that face challenges with poll worker recruitment and retention, and we are set to lose some of the flexibility that we had in 2020. In addition, the single witness signature requirement is going to expire. The legislative elimination of a notary provision and the reduction of absentee witness requirement from 2 to 1 witness was particularly impactful during the pandemic for voters who could not vote in person due to health conditions or age, and for those who were in single person households. And right now, it stands to be seen if the online absentee ballot request portal will remain. We know that the State Board of Elections has indicated that they're going to try to continue the online portal where voters can request their ballots using their administrative powers. You can learn more online at our website about our important work to retain these pro-voter policies. These changes will not only make it harder for voters to vote and vote safely, but it will also make it tougher for election officials to administer elections. Your monitoring can help us determine if counties and voters in those counties are having trouble navigating the new rules. Pair this with the fact that 2021 brought more county removals from the voting rolls. In North Carolina, county boards of elections must regularly update their voter registration lists to maintain accuracy and efficiency in administering their elections. Every state undergoes a process to update their voter rolls. So as people move, pass away, or otherwise become ineligible to vote, our lists remain accurate. In North Carolina, County Board of Elections review their voter registration lists to ensure accurate information about eligible voters. For example, county boards of elections regularly receive information from the state to remove residents who have died or been convicted of a felony. List maintenance is a routine process that's required by both state and federal law. And North Carolina voters can and should regularly check their registration status. In odd number years, like this year, 2021, county boards of elections begin a more comprehensive process to update voter rolls. In addition to removing deceased voters or people with felony convictions, county boards of elections engage in 3 key list maintenance procedures: biennial list maintenance, removal of inactive voters, and the national change of address mailings. You can learn more about biennial list maintenance process and what list maintenance process looks like in North Carolina on our website, and we just dropped a link in the chat. County boards of elections in 2021 removed over 391,000 voters. This is compared to over 570,000 voters that were removed in 2019. This change may be partly explained by high turnout in the November 2020 general election and by the implementation of online voter registration, which made it much easier for voters to update their voter registration. Even though fewer voters were removed in the 2021 process than we saw in the last major process of 2019, the makeup of this year's removals is concerning. Black registered voters were more likely to be removed than voters from other demographic groups. Specifically, Black voters made up 21% of all registered voters at the time of the general election in November, but made up 28% of the voters removed through list maintenance. And then multiracial voters, Indigenous voters, and Latinx voters were also overrepresented in removals, while white voters were underrepresented. In addition, younger adults were particularly impacted by 2021 voter roll removals. While voters aged 26 to 40 represent only a quarter of North Carolina voters, they represented nearly half, 46%, of voters removed from the rolls in 2021. Your monitoring as a county board of elections monitor can help us determine if counties are educating voters about these removals and doing all that they can to help voters in their counties get back to casting a ballot. And one more thing to keep in mind as we consider all the ways 2021 could impact our county board of elections monitoring is redistricting. Redistricting data will not be released until at least September 30th of this year. This could impact the timing of municipal elections in North Carolina, pushing some of those municipal elections potentially from 2021 to 2022. And that would have an impact on the time and resources that counties have to host fair and accessible elections. We know that many jurisdictions will be impacted, but what we don't know right now is exactly what action the legislature will take to address these delays in census data and redistricting. Stay tuned to our emails and those from your County Board of Elections monitoring contacts for next steps on redistricting. We're going to pivot now to understand a little bit more, zooming out to how county boards of elections conduct business in 2021. So we're going to talk about how staff make decisions on county board of elections. There are 100 county boards of elections in North Carolina which conduct local elections, operate voting sites, maintain voter registration lists, and handle many other important aspects of election administration. These county boards of elections are essentially comprised of paid staff, the director, and 5 members board of elections who are registered voters in that county. The 5-person county board of elections is appointed every 2 years, and each county board of elections is made up of 5 board members who are registered voters in that county. By law, 3 members of every county board of directors are affiliated with the governor's political party, which this year is the Democratic Party, and 2 from the other political party having the highest number of registered voters, which this year is the Republican Party. No more than 3 board members can be from the same political party. In 2021, every county board of elections is comprised of 1 chairperson who is a Democrat, 4 other members, 2 who are Republican and 2 who are Democrats. Want to be in touch with these members, want to meet them and build a relationship? Depending on your county, email addresses and phone numbers may be available on the county website to contact each of your county members individually. In the alternative, you can contact your county board of election staff, and they may have ways that you can reach out and touch county members, as well as introduce yourself to the county director. This year is the year that boards will change, creating new opportunities and possibly challenges for election administration. These board members and staff will be recommending budgets to their county commissioners this spring, budgets that will determine how prepared the county will be to host virtual meetings in time of crisis, educate voters on things like removals from the voter rolls, and navigate last-minute changes to election rules, and provide good early voting options, and much, much more. Now that you have the background, it'll be easier to understand how phase 1 fits into the other goals of our County Board of Elections monitoring efforts this year. When you monitor your County Board of Elections in this phase of the process, it'll be important to first make sure counties are providing notice and access to meetings and opportunities for public comment. It's going to be important to learn if counties are educating voters about removals and to report on how counties are responding to election rule changes. We're going to be asking monitors to find out how counties plan to fund elections and how much they're asking for from their local county commissioners. And finally, we want to be able to document changes to Board of Elections membership and document any impacts that this change may have. So right now we are focused on creating a line of communication between you all, our monitors, and us at Democracy North Carolina. This is why consistent communication is so important in this effort. After this event, you'll have an email address for the regional managing organizer in your county or the County Board of Elections monitoring coordinators that work outside of those regions to help you on this process. You'll have elections at democracync.org as a central clearinghouse to reach multiple contacts on this training. And you'll have the report form to contact us within 24 hours every time you're in touch with your county, either by phone to ask them important questions or by attending their meetings. And now I'm going to turn it over to Sailor to share another poll before we go to our Q&A.
Alyssa, awesome. We really appreciate Alyssa running through that really dense information and did it so beautifully. Next up, we have another poll and we want to hear from you. How many of you know whether your town or city is supposed to have an election this year and when it is? Alyssa mentioned municipal elections. We want to know if you know whether you're having one. Do you know it? Are you not certain? Or haven't you thought about it? Tell us how you're feeling about it. Tell us how you're feeling about it. I feel like I'm on Jeopardy a little bit. I won't do the music for you, but I'll give you a few more seconds to round that out. But we know many of you having municipal elections this year. They're hard to find. They're hard to come by. There are 4 types. There are 3 days of it normally. So let us know if you know. And I can't see the responses yet, but I'm all righty. So 41% of you know it, 50% of you are not certain, and 9% honestly haven't thought about it. I bet that 9% are the panelists on tonight's call who haven't had a chance to think about it yet because we're in the long legislative session. But if you're among the 50% who aren't certain, you're not alone. It is a bit of a mystery this year when people will be having the elections, not simply whether you are having the elections, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. But we want to go really quickly before we do into a short Q&A. Again, by popular demand, we're going to offer a few different Q&A sessions where we answer a few of the frequently asked questions that are coming through the Q&A box. And we appreciate you answering that question for us. Now we want to answer a few for you. We know election changes can be confusing, and so we want to respond to a few of the questions in the Q&A box about stuff that Alyssa just talked about. So Taylor, do we have a few Q&A questions that we could throw out to the expert panelists here?
We do. We have one general question about the State Board of Elections. Are they open for public comment? How could our CBOE monitors reach the State Board if they're someone they want to talk to?
It's a great question. So State Board of Elections meetings are open to the public. And sometimes they do have time for public comment depending on what is on the agenda. So you can go to the State Board of Elections website and I will drop an email address in this chat right now for you to contact someone at the State Board of Elections when you need to be in touch because you have a question. Most frequently, we are in communication with a gentleman named Patrick Gannon, who is the person who is the liaison usually with external communications. And so I will drop his email in the chat right now.
Thank you, Alyssa. Taylor, do we have any more good questions that have popped up about all that Alyssa covered before?
We have a more specific one. Tiffany wants to know, can they be a precinct judge and a BOE monitor at the same time? So this might, relate to people taking other similar jobs and doing this at the same time.
A great question. To my knowledge, there is no issue with someone who is currently engaged in being a precinct judge with being a County Board of Elections monitor. And so I think it might be an opportunity to reach out to your County Board of Elections and ask them if they see a conflict, but we've never seen a conflict in our time. We have lots of lovely folks who have been poll workers, poll monitors, nonpartisan and partisan, who have also been County Board of Elections monitors.
In fact, we prefer it that way. That full court press throughout the year is what we're all about here with our CBOE monitoring program. And so we're so glad that people are interested who have been inside the poll, interested in being inside the County Board of Elections meeting. Do we have any other questions, Taylor, before we continue going?
Yeah, I'll take this one as the last one. And then folks in the Q&A box, if we don't get to you, I'll either be trying to write the answers in or saving them for later. So someone asked, how much detail should we expect our county to release to the public regarding the budget?
That's a really good question. So in a lot of cases, if you request the budget that they've requested, or you contact county commissioners, they are willing to share that budget with you because those budgets are publicly presented in county commissioner meetings. And so generally, county boards of elections are usually pretty forthcoming with that, especially because they have a vested interest in getting their appropriations and their work funded. So we haven't had much problems getting that information from them historically.
Thank you, Alyssa, for that. And obviously, those budgets go to the county commission, another space where you can attend meetings and provide public comment. I'm sure, as Alyssa said, the counties would really love if you went and promoted their budget at the county commission level, especially if it is a good one. So thank you for answering that, Alyssa. And as a reminder, like Taylor said, if you haven't yet, please put your question in the Q&A box. We've got a few more Q&As coming, but we wanted to mix it up tonight. So we make sure if you've got to hop off early, you'll get your question answered. Taylor will continue answering those in the chat box. And now we're going to turn it over to Aja Bullock to introduce our shared goals for the CBOE monitoring program. Aja?
Hey y'all. I am excited to be here. I'm glad so many people are still here 35 minutes in. So I am ready to share the shared goals with y'all. So CBOE monitoring is all about like building education, advocacy, and relationships. So that sounds simple, but it means a lot of things. It means contacting your county to find specific questions and meeting times, identify, election information and alerting them about issues. It also means serving as a witness to the elections process locally. So decisions about policies and implementation of state election law. It also means attending meetings and observing meeting dynamics closely. So paying special attention to priority meeting agenda topics. And then speaking out during public comment. That's really important, talking about topics of interest to Democracy North Carolina, or your community, because this is, all about you and local change. So that could be election budgets, early voting access, anything that's important to you. Also taking notes on meeting agenda topics and using your BOE monitoring report form to report back to your local organizer or regional contact coordinator within 24 hours of the BOE meeting. And then finally, remaining nonpartisan, remembering you're advocating for voting access for all, and it's really important to stay nonpartisan. And as Alyssa mentioned, it also includes being a part of election admin fixes. So CBOE monitoring is all about making differences at the local level. So these are where voting rights victories are sometimes easier to come by. So we already told you about Rowan County and Rockingham County. But in 2020, Democracy North Carolina also worked with local advocates in a bunch of different areas to address issues. One example is Onslow County, where we worked with local advocates to work with the USPS and prevent additional costs for mailing an absentee ballots to the County Board of Elections. We also in Caswell County advocated with the State Board of Election increase resources for the county so that the office could stay open longer with more staffing, which would help local voters. And then in Cabarrus County, we proactively worked with the chair of the County Board of Election to correct an issue of miscoded absentee ballots erroneously sent to some voters. And then for the next part of shared goals, what do we actually do with the information you gather? So what we do is redirect problems to the attention of election officials. We identify trends or solutions that can help your county or others. And we help advocates advance legislation or litigation. And because you have contacts in your region, connecting the information you share with experts working to change policy, you have a direct and consistent line of communication to learn how the information you share makes differences in the elections in your county, like all the things we've been talking about and all of the examples. So Sailor's going to talk you through the call. And yeah.
Aja, thank you very, very much. That was really, really helpful to understand why we go through this process and our shared goals together, because it's really important to understand that we are not only in this together, but we are in it together with the people at the county level on these goals. So we really, really appreciate not only understanding from Alyssa who you're going to be talking to, but with Aja, why you're talking to them. So let's talk about something that a lot of people may not be doing in the era of Zoom, which is actually using the phone. So we're going to walk through how to call your county board of elections. This may sound simple, but a lot of people have anxiety about calling their county board of elections. And so we wanted to really address that. We want to honor that this may not be an easy thing, especially for the 42% of you who have not gone to a county board of elections meeting yet. So you may not have called your county before. Now you're ready to call them to determine things like, when will our county meet again? Obviously, you're going to want to attend these meetings. So calling your county board of elections is a quick and easy way to not only meet the county board of elections staff that Alyssa talked about, but address some of these goals that Aja was talking about by finding out when the county is going to meet, and they should be able to tell you. Will they offer virtual options for meeting and comment, and what kind? This is incredibly important. We actually asked for this on the report form in addition to when the county is going to meet, because we want to know if they're providing options for people with health issues who may have not be vaccinated yet or may not be comfortable going out in public yet. We want to know if they're offering ways like Zoom or WebEx or some other system, or whether they're offering telephonic options for people who don't want to go in person. When will budgets be discussed? Obviously, we need to fund our elections, and that happens before fiscal years, July 1. So a lot of counties have worked up their budgets already. We want to know what those budgets are and if they've been distributed to the county commission, and they may even be able to tell you when the county commission is going to vote. Will the county be hosting municipal elections this year? We asked the question earlier, did you know when? Have you thought about it? A lot of you have not. And so your county board of elections should be able to tell you if you will be hosting municipal elections, what cities and towns are, and a report form will be there to document those. Typically, county election staff will answer the phone, and they may or may not have all the answers. That's okay. If possible, identify yourself. Say you're a voter in your county and you're interested in attending meetings and learning more about this year's elections. You are not their enemy, you are their friend. You just want to learn more and help everybody in your community learn more. If they don't have the answers to the questions that you ask, that's okay. You can ask to speak to the elections director. As Alyssa said, the director is another important part of this process. They're actually helping to put that budget together with the Board of Elections members. They should be on the other end of the phone as well. Remember, this program is about building productive relationships with the staff and the director, and a polite, efficient phone call to both the staff and the director, even if you have to leave a voicemail, can go a long way to building that relationship, which our organizers will talk about in a minute. So what do you expect at the meetings? Remember, you called, you found out when the meeting was, now you're ready to attend a county board of elections meeting. Again, this may sound simple, but a lot of folks have anxiety, not only about calling, but about attending these meetings. A lot of people feel like they shouldn't be allowed to be at these meetings, but these are public meetings and we want you to feel comfortable being there. So now you're ready to attend to determine things like your county budget for elections, when the county commission may meet to discuss that budget for elections, any problems people are anticipating about the budget. I remember in Buncombe County, there were a lot of discussions from the Buncombe County director about whether the county would fund voter education like they needed before. So these are the types of things you can write down on your report form and find out. That you'll want to learn about the latest expenditures. What is the county spending money on, including list maintenance education? Remember, Alyssa said there were nearly 400,000 people removed from the voter rolls earlier this year. What is the county doing to let people know about not only those removals, but also ways to re-register or to submit provisional ballots? What kind of voter education is out there? You may learn at the meetings how the director and members are talking about municipal elections and other election changes. As Alyssa said, census data delays may delay redistricting, which may delay municipal elections. What is the county saying about that? Are they worried about moving elections? Are they worried about keeping elections in 2021? You can document that on the report form as well. As Alyssa said, these are the folks who will be there. There will be 5 people from the County Board of Elections members, 3 Democrats and 2 Republicans. So when you walk in the room, they may be seated at these long tables, like you've seen on the State Board of Elections on video. They'll be sitting at the head of the table making decisions. You will also see county election staff at the meetings, many of whom take minutes of the meeting, or at least the director and maybe more staff. The director will be there reporting out to them. Normally there's this little director's report that they give at the beginning where the director tells the members what they should be thinking about and voting on during the meeting. Who else might be there? Maybe partisan observers will be there, potentially people from the county parties. Don't worry about them. You're there with Democracy NC, you're nonpartisan, and you remain that way. Other advocates of other advocacy groups may be there observing the proceedings based on interests they serve. It's not uncommon to see someone from the local League of Women Voters there. The local NAACP may be there. They are your friends too, and they're also taking notes. The media may be there. If issues are coming out in a particular county, I remember that was true maybe in counties like Rockingham last year. The media may be there covering what's happening, what the Board of Elections members are voting on, and what the director is reporting out. So don't be surprised to see some other people there. And it may be a place where you are able to even ask questions of the board if you can't hear something or don't understand something. What should you expect at these meetings? Again, we are trying to demystify these meetings as best we can, but know that these are public meetings and we are all entitled to attend them, whether we live in the county or not. I think I've attended County Board of Elections meetings in about 42 counties. I only live in one, but these are public spaces where anyone can take notes at the meeting. We're entitled to attend, but the boards may not be used to people caring about these meetings, especially far away from election day. And at these preliminary meetings, don't be surprised if they're surprised to see you, but you're allowed to be there. Don't be intimidated either. You have a right to be there and observe what the county is doing. So report on the report form. For example, if they go into closed session or any other session where you are not allowed to hear what they are saying, don't be afraid to ask County Board of Election staff if there are any mechanisms for public input. Sometimes they have public comment at the beginning of the meeting, which we find is less helpful than at the end because you don't know what they're talking about. But there may be avenues for public comment and you can use them. Don't be afraid to. You can also ask a question if you don't understand a certain concept. As I said, the members and the director in many cases are nice people who are willing to answer questions about what's being said at these meetings. Don't be afraid to ask. Remain nonpartisan. Aja said this before, but we can't say it enough. Remember, you're there to advocate for all voters. So be nonpartisan if you can. And remember, use your phone or tablet or computer and fill out your report form during or immediately after these meetings while the meeting itself is fresh in your mind. We know some people will give us 50 pages of notes. Some people give us 5 paragraphs of notes. Anything is good because we just want to know what happened at the meeting, and we have specific questions in the report form to actually prompt you to certain things that we're talking about tonight. We know technology for these virtual meetings may vary widely, so just do the best you can to identify who's in attendance at these meetings and who says what in terms of report forms and questions. Obviously, it's so much easier when you can be there in person, but if you can't be there in person, just follow as best you can, document who's there, and let us know who's speaking to the best of your ability. With that in mind, we're trying to demystify the calls, the meetings, and your expectations. We want to ask you one more question, and that is this poll. How many of you feel anxious about contacting your county board officials to find out the questions that we've asked or attend these meetings? Do you feel a lot, some, or are you totally comfortable? We're hoping for 100% totally comfortable now that we've run through the expectations and how to call, but we know we may have fallen short, or I'm going to use I statements. I may have fallen short in alleviating all anxiety, but we want to know you're feeling comfortable and address your questions if we can. So I can't see your answers yet, but hopefully soon I will be. Okay, 72% are totally comfortable, 26% some, and 2% a lot. Okay, so if I was being a communications professional about this, I would say the overwhelming majority of you feel at least some comfort with contacting your county board. That's what we want. If you are a member of the 2% and you're feeling still a lot of anxiety about making these calls or attending these meetings, have we got a solution for you, my friends? We are about to have another Q&A, and this is a Q&A not only to answer questions about some of the goals that Aja outlined, but also to answer your questions about expectations about these meetings. Taylor, what have we got?
So I've been trying to figure out how to phrase this one because it's kind of a question, kind of not. It's about the fact that the counties are not mandated to do live streaming or virtual options for those meetings. But we know that due to the pandemic, and then also just due to folks who may be differently able, not everyone is able to be there. So some folks, want to be able to fight for those meetings. So I guess, can you share some of the ways that we've fought for virtual meetings or streaming meetings before, so folks can hear about that?
Definitely. So I think we had a lot of individual advocates who were making phone calls and telling their counties, the ones that were only meeting in person, that they really wanted not only phone access, but virtual meeting access via a Zoom link or some other kind of webinar link. We did digital actions in a lot of counties where we knew that we had called, we had written a letter, and we, bombarded them with emails. I think, even did some tweeting at county boards of elections, encouraging them. I will say that a lot of counties did work to institute virtual access. And one of the big barriers for a lot of counties was awareness of software and how to implement software in a way that was safe and secure. And we worked with the State Board of Elections when we identified that was an issue for certain counties. But our advocates made many, many phone calls, many, many requests, and it really did make a difference in a lot of counties.
And Alyssa, we're going to turn it over to you and the organizers in just one second for some of these success stories. But I want to make it perfectly clear too that on the report form, the reason we ask you if virtual options were given is so that we know when they weren't. And the reason why that's important is because we're going to be synthesizing that information. If we know that a county that had previously, for example, provided virtual options is saying they're not doing it anymore, we can contact the county or the state board and advocate for you. Also, this is an area where you advocate. If you get a critical mass of people to call the County Board of Elections and say, institute or reinstitute virtual options, in some cases, as Alyssa said, it happens. And so this is an area where CBOE monitoring turns into CBOE advocacy for transparency on the county level that you are leading. And so that is part and parcel to what we're asking for. One more thing, if the county tells you it's money that is the obstacle to providing virtual options, let us know that on the report form too. We want to make the case up to the legislative level that counties need funding, and you're here to help provide that intelligence to let us know why they aren't providing the transparency that you need to advocate. Taylor, do we have another question before we move on to the next part?
Yes. Some folks are wondering about if they're new or maybe they're changing counties. Is there a way that they can learn more about the past of their county, right? Like you just mentioned, what they've done before. Are there ways that they can learn what's happened in the past so they can feel more prepared?
Well, I hope these folks will stay on for our next exciting, what we're calling the fun part of tonight, which is where we meet and greet with the RMOs. But I would ask that person to drop what county they live in either the Q&A or the chat box if they're interested in understanding the past and CBOE monitoring successes and advocacy in their county. We have some great regional managing organizers who have the history of many of the counties in the state. where the folks live on the call, and we can find out what past issues were in your county. For example, what early voting was offered in the county, what a typical election budget can look like, and things like that will be very helpful for you moving forward as you do your advocacy at the county level. So please stay tuned as some of our RMOs share where they are from. Consider them your primary contact for that kind of regional information moving forward. Again, this is a two-way street. You provide information to us, we provide it right back to you, and together we are effective advocates at the county level. Taylor, we got time for one more question. So I hope the question asker from the last one will stay on for a few more minutes when we get to the fun part where you hear from the RMOs. But do we have time for one more?
We'll do a fun one. Folks are wondering, is it possible for them to have a buddy to work with?
Buddy, yes, absolutely. In fact, our own Linda Sutton may talk in just one second about the benefits of having a CBOE monitoring leader, someone who attends the meetings, but also backups and buddies who work together. And this obviously is a great space where you can get to know people who are working together in your county. You'll attend one of these county board of elections meetings, and you'll find someone sitting next to you who attended this training tonight. They can not only be your buddy in County Board of Elections monitoring, but in early voting advocacy. You can be vote protector buddies together. Alyssa will be recruiting you later for that. And so this is a great way to build relationships on the ground and create a critical mass of people who are educated and understand the County Board of Elections administration process and who can move together moving forward. If you'd like to know your buddy in your county and know if other people tonight were trained, reach out to us at elections@democracync.org. We can connect you with other people from your county who have been trained and who are agreeing to attend meetings as well. All right, my friends, tonight we're getting to the part you've all been waiting for. It's what many of you have been waiting for, I know, based on the polling. This is the fun part. We want to make sure those of you who are new to this work, and again, about 42% of you haven't attended CBOE monitoring, CBOE meetings. We want to make sure, one, you genuinely understand exactly what we're asking you to do, and two, meet your point of contact for contacts for this work at Democracy NC. To do that, we brought together our most important experts, the experts who work throughout the state to do County Board of Elections monitoring and election administrative fixes, our RMOs, and Aja and Alyssa, and our new friend Carol. And so we're going to be introducing you to those folks in just one second. These are the folks who are working in every region of the state and your primary contacts moving forward to get you ready to be CBOE monitors. This year, we are not just letting you go out into the world, friends. We are creating contacts that you can work with in an ongoing way to make sure you have what you need to monitor at the county level. You can get familiar together with us with the report form and when to report back. We'll remind you of the importance of calling and attending meetings and remaining nonpartisan. We're going to remind you how to check in with your contact as needed. As folks speak, we hope the experts will drop their emails into the chat box to let folks know how they can reach out to you. I almost said reach out and touch someone. That is dating me even now. We want our experts to share a local story. One of the questions asks, what's the history of my county? The RMOs are going to share a success story from their region where they tell you how County Board of Elections monitors work together to make positive change in their region. And we're going to take any remaining time we have to answer any burning questions that are remaining. Now, if you're an experienced CBOE monitor who already knows your organizer in your region, I've seen many of you in the chat box, and you already feel comfortable with contacting your county, reporting out, and attending local meetings, this is your chance to end your meeting now. You've gotten the crux of what a lot of the 2021 issues are. You'll see them prompted in the report form. A lot of you already know how to call your county, what the number is. If y'all want to hop off and have your questions answered, feel free to. But this is a chance for you to hear directly from your regional managing organizers and the folks in your region who will be your primary contacts moving forward. So we hope a lot of you will stay. Again, if you're hopping off, you'll receive the entire recording, slides, and resources via email, just like everyone else. So you won't miss a thing, even if you leave the meeting now. Okay, for the rest of you, the fun part. For those who are staying with us, it's time to meet the state's leading experts, our regional managing organizers, who will be introducing themselves in turn, telling us what region they're a part of. They're going to drop their emails in the box. They're going to let you know what counties are in their regions, what our target counties are in those regions. And they're going to share a little bit of a success story about their region. You'll also hear from Aja and Alyssa again, who will be talking about the Triangle region, the Northeastern region, and other counties that fall outside of our regional managing organizers region and what success looks like there. So for now, I'm going to turn it over to my friend, Edward Peters, who is our regional managing organizer in the Western region. Edward?
Thank you so much, Sailor. It's great to see so many folks here in this Zoom tonight. Again, my name's Edward, and I work in the western part of the state. So in the east, I work in Jackson County, all the way up to the north in Watauga County, and all the way, west to Jackson and east to Cleveland and Catawba County down in the valley. So we cover a lot of region, a lot of counties up here, and we have some really involved advocates. So I'm excited to share some stories of successes we've had at the County Board of Elections. So in Buncombe County, we have some really dedicated advocates. Want to shout out George Elam tonight. He's one of our captains in the region. And through his work and other Board of Elections monitors, we got word that they were going to take away or potentially take away the most popular voting sites with people of color and young folks in Buncombe County. So once we rang the alarm, we were able to form a pretty large coalition of faith communities, students, and neighborhood organizations to advocate to keep these sites. And we launched an unprecedented campaign, and we flooded the Board of Elections with emails and public comments, and we were able to win those sites. So they were able to be used by those young folks and people of color that have used it historically in the community. And not only in Buncombe, but also in Watauga. We fought hard for a voting site on the campus of App State University. It's always a fight, it seems, up there, unfortunately. But we want to make sure that students are able to vote conveniently and close to where they live, especially during a pandemic. We don't want folks to have to travel further. So those are some of our success stories. And for that, after this, I'm going to pass it to my illustrious colleague in Charlotte, Kamaria E. Lawrence.
Thank you, Edward, for that very kind pass off. I appreciate it. Well, here in Western Piedmont, we cover Mecklenburg County, Gaston County, Cabarrus County, and Union County. And we have some amazing people on the ground working very hard each day for democracy in North Carolina and just democracy, period. But I do want to point out the work that was done in Cabarrus County, just north of Charlotte. Proactively, we worked with the chair of the County Board of Elections to correct an issue of miscoded absentee ballots erroneously sent to some voters. But also in the great state of Mecklenburg, persistently advocated for better voting options for the public. And this is so important. Some people are not able to call in. Some people are not able to go to the meeting in person safely. It's not safe right now to gather at all times. So it's so important that these options are made available to all who want to participate in the meeting. So I'm going to pass it off to our tenured organizer, Miss Linda Sutton.
Thank you, Kamaria. Again, I'm Linda Sutton. I'm the organizer in the Central Piedmont region, covering Rowan County, Forsyth, Guilford, Rockingham, Alamance, and counties north and south when I find time, right? Let me just reiterate how important it is for this program and for us to get the notes that you are taking or calling us if need be to find out what's going on. You know, because of your advocacy and others who've been monitoring boards of elections, especially since 2013, we had been reaching out to individual advocates in the counties to monitor boards of elections. But until 2013, it really took off because of the massive amount of anti-voter legislation coming out of the General Assembly. And so we really stepped it up this time last year, thanks to Sailor, who took us to a higher plane. But it is so crucial that we know what's going on the ground. And let me just give you a couple examples of what we were able to do. And BJ from Guilford County is here on the call, and she remembers when we marched from Beloved to the Board of Elections meetings because they had such a terrible early voting plan. We sang so many songs, they shut down the meeting until they came back and gave us what we wanted. BJ was right up front on that one. So that was a crucial time to make sure that voters had equal access. That was last year we were trying to get all 17 days of early voting in Forsyth County and Sunday voting. The board actually took a vote without 17 days and without Sunday. So by members attending meetings and speaking out, we then generated a petition, and we had so many people emailing and calling, they reversed and gave us everything that the citizens wanted. We always wanted more, but we got our 17 days and we got Sunday. That's just a couple of instances, but we've built relationships with the directors of elections also. So we periodically meet with them to discuss different issues that come up, during the election cycle. But it's important that we take those good notes and send them in. One other thing I'd like to mention is that it's get in the habit of not only checking the website, but calling the boards of elections, because sometimes they'll cancel a meeting or they'll move the meeting date. And lastly, let me just say, it's a good practice to have a team of people. Not only you would have a lead monitor, but there will be someone who can step in if you're unable to make it. But having a team of people, the more the merrier, because there come times when you need to generate a lot of conversation. You need to generate comments either during the meeting, the public comment session, or maybe just sending an email. And so getting people to attend the meeting in person, it was very effective when we were meeting in person. To have a room full of voters standing out in the hallways where you couldn't even get in the meeting, and it does make a difference. So, I just want to offer that and lift that up to you, because you're really like our first responders. I'm telling you, you are our first responders, and this is the way we keep up with what's happening in the state. So thank you. Welcome, everybody. I'd like to pass it on. I think, Aja, are you going next? You and Alyssa?
Yes, ma'am.
All right.
Hey, everybody. Aja again. I am not an RMO. I'm organizing program associate, and I work in the Morrisville office. I'm located in Fayetteville, though. I'm so happy to see all those people in the chat that were saying they were from Fayetteville. And yeah, so I'm going to talk about the Triangle, and Alyssa will talk about some success stories for the Northeast. So starting with Durham and Wake County, there were folks there who helped identify that there were some issues with the multi-partisan assistance teams. There are challenges with like accessing and supporting people who were in assisted living facilities. So then we were able to work with Disability Rights and the State Board of Elections to make sure, there was access and those people were able to, get the assistance they needed. Then in Orange County and other counties in the Triangle, monitors at the CBOE learned that there were thousands of people who volunteered to be poll workers, but there was still a need for Republican poll workers so that there could be like a partisan composition that was equal, because that's a requirement. So we were able to work with national organizations to recruit more non-Democrat poll workers in that area. And without that, the voting sites wouldn't have been able to stay open. But they were, so that's great. And that was thanks to this program. So yeah.
Now turning over to northeastern North Carolina, in Pasquotank County, we identified that although there were enough poll workers trained and ready to go, that the county was worried about having backup workers if the current workers on the list were to get sick. So we helped to make sure that there were enough folks on the backup roster and that that list was full so that no voting locations were at risk for closing. And then in Hertford County, monitors noticed that there was no information at all about how to vote by mail on the website. And so we and other advocates called the County Board of Elections to make sure that they could update their website on information on how to vote by mail and assist voters in that way. And we will turn it over to Manny now.
Thank you, Alyssa. Good evening, everyone. My name is Manny Diaz. I am the organizer in the Southeastern region that constitutes Cumberland County, Robeson County, Bladen, Harnett, and then all the way to New Hanover County over there in Wilmington. Before I share the success stories from the Southeast, I do want to thank everyone for being here, especially all of the individuals that I've worked with in the past. There's so many familiar individuals here. So thank you so much for continuing to be engaged with Democracy NC. And another thing is, whenever you attend those County Board of Election meetings, I do want to reemphasize that don't be afraid to ask questions, right? You can get better notes, better information by asking questions. If there's something that you don't understand, you know, you're a voter at the end of the day and you have a right to know. So don't be afraid to ask those questions. But here in the Southeast, we have a lot of success stories. I want to begin with Cumberland County, and the individuals who are in this meeting actually work with me to get this accomplished. Many volunteers fought to have an early voting site for in a community that's poor, that is minority. It's a minority community, and it's right next to an HBCU. I mean, we did petitions, we packed the County Board of Election meeting. The decision on that aspect by the county was split, so it went all the way up to the State Board of Elections. But at the end of the day, we received that that early voting site that was much needed, and that was fought by the community. So it's a very success story. But the beauty of this is successes and victories don't just happen in urban centers. We have had successes in rural communities as well. For example, in Robeson County, volunteers stayed there for 12 hours just to make sure that every eligible voter could vote and that all votes were counted. Not only that, but volunteers there advocated for Sunday voting, and they received Sunday voting. It was so popular that some sororities and fraternities organized a Souls to the Polls March in Fairmont, which was really fantastic to see. In Harnett County, volunteers there saw firsthand how the County Board of Elections implemented the recommendations set forth by Democracy North Carolina. In Hope County, even though it's not officially part of the region, we do some work in Hope County. Volunteers there advocated for the expansion of the early voting period and polling sites available, even when members really did not want to have those things expanded. So victories happen in urban and rural centers, which is pretty exciting to see. And with that, I'm going to pass it on to the beast of the East, Marquez.
How y'all doing? My name is Marquez Thompson. Thank you, Manny, for that beast of the East endorsement. Yeah, so I cover Eastern North Carolina, so that's counties officially north, like Edgecombe and Nash County, and it's Rocky Mount, down south to Craven, also Pitt County, and as far as west is Wilson County. Although I will say that there have been Marquez sightings in Halifax County, and as far west as Goldsboro, Wayne County, and even down in Colorado County. I try not to get caught down there too much, but if you scour the internet, you'll find the pictures of me in those places as well. But although that's not my official region, but we have a lot of success stories in the East. One in particular that highlights the importance of what you do as a Board of Elections monitor. In Wilson County, a monitor let us know that the majority of the people on the Board of Elections were not in favor of Saturday voting, which was something we were pushing, especially in Wilson County because of the high population of voters that use Sunday voting. And so let us know that the majority of people the board was not in favor of it and were specific enough to tell us what were the objections that were stated, why these people were saying they were not willing to have Sunday voting. Of course, they didn't have the vote that meeting. They were going to have another meeting where the vote was going to be official. And we were able to develop talking points around why Sunday voting was important. We were able to have advocates there that use Sunday voting, sold to the poll workers, and we were able to address the very objections that they have. One was, why the one person said, they believe Sunday should be for, religious expression and not for voting. But there were people there that were pastors that were there that said voting is a spiritual event for us. And if you believe in religious freedom, you shouldn't tell us how we should worship and how we should use Sunday. So it was very compelling. And that next meeting was bananas. There were so many people there, and they all had their talking points, and they all were passionate about the issue. And we were able to have a unanimous decision. We were able to change that vote and get Sunday voting, and it was a huge success. And the people knew that their voice was heard. So when you go into that Board of Elections as a monitor, know that you are the eyes and the ears of the community, and the community is behind you, and so are we. So we will give you all the tools that you need to succeed at making sure the community has their voice heard and have the outcomes that we desire. So thank you so much for what you're doing, what you have done, and what you're pleasure to do here tonight. It is going to make a difference. And I'll pass it to Sailor.
And I'm passing it back to Alyssa, just for 1 second.
We're volleying back and forth right now. So as the advocacy director, it's really, really exciting to be supporting the organizing team on this work. And it's also really exciting to introduce Carol, who is joining our team as the research and program associate. Many of you are familiar with Gino, who was in that role before and who will be supporting Aja. And so we have a combined role right now of Aja and Carol working on this. And I wanted to give Carol a chance just to say hello and do a very brief introduction to you all. And those of you who are not in an RMO region will be in touch with me and Carol as we work with you all on this project.
Hi, everyone. As Alyssa was saying, I'm Carol, and I am new to the North Carolina area. I moved here in August of last year from Oregon, so I am incredibly excited to get to know some of you and to do some work towards having equitable access to elections.
Thanks so much, Carol. We are so thrilled to pieces to have you here and really appreciate the work you will do on this program. As you can see, we have a full court press of people here to help with CBOE monitoring and a lot of past successes, as Ms. Linda Sutton talked about and all of the RMOs talked about. Marquez, I really loved what you said about us being here for folks so they could be here for the counties. And I really appreciate all the RMOs do. Give them a shout out in the chat if you can, and notice that they put their email addresses in the chat so you could have access to them as much as we are having access to your reports. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that. I want to share my screen one more time. I apologize. Can everybody see my screen? Alyssa, I'm looking at you. Okay, my friend. So I just want to tell you what is next. As a reminder, in the coming days, you'll receive an email with a recording of this webinar, as well as the slides you see here. We want to make sure you have everything you need and that you didn't have to take copious notes. You could just listen and learn with us, as well as a link to our CBOE monitoring hub. It is also linked at the bottom of this slide. You can go to demnc.co/BOE monitor and find the report form, resources, and everything you need to help other friends sign up to be a CBOE monitor as well. And as always, you can contact us at elections@democracync.org. It may sound strange, but we want to ask you one more question before you go. How many of you feel more confident with CBOE monitoring now than before this training? It's an important question, and we had to ask. We wanted to see how well we did tonight in real time. So I want to make sure, do you feel more confident about being a CBOE monitor than you did before this training? Are you going to give us a big old yes? or an emphatic no? We want to hear from you right now. Everything is riding on this. All the raises. I mean, it's really important. No pressure, friends. But we want to hear from you. Are you more confident now than before? Yes, 100%. Yes. It's never been this good. Yes, that's awesome. That's great. So Taylor, before we go, since 100% of people are more confident now than they were before, are there any remaining, we got time for one or two maybe burning questions before we let folks go? Anything that folks need to know?
Someone said we could have put a maybe in there, but you could be at least a little more confident, right? Which you all are, so we're excited. We actually were able to get through everything Q&A wise, so
Okay.
I want to give folks, one more, I guess, option to hit the Q&A up. But
Okay.
that last section was just so informational. I think people get it.
I know. What happens when we bring all of the RMOs together with Alyssa and Aja is magic.